Once was pro strongman Bobby Thompson, and it's good to be back. Welcome to Off the Bar. What is up, guys? Welcome back to Off the Bar, episode 2. And of course, we're going to talk about deadlift and a few other things. A couple of those things might irritate a few people, but not really too worried about that. Hopefully they learn something while they're irritated. Now, let's talk about deadlift real quick, and for the majority of the time, we're going to be here. Now, what do we want to talk about? I've noticed over the years, being a top-level strength athlete, well, when I was, now I'm just a really, really strong average guy. But when I was a top-level strength athlete, I kept seeing a certain attribute pop up in people who had the propensity. They weren't always the greatest deadlifters when I knew them, but the propensity was there. What I mean by that is when you make a very finite adjustment and somebody's deadlift explodes, that's usually a good indication this person's probably good at deadlifting. They just need a little extra help. But then I started noticing these people, and I'll list some names here in a second, they all had something in common. And that was before they got to strongman, maybe not necessarily early in life, but earlier in their athletic careers, they were successful endurance athletes. Now, I'm not just saying runners, I'm saying cross-country runners, marathon runners. Nick Guardione was a cross-country runner for a long time before he got into strongman. Mitchell Hooper has experience in endurance sports such as running marathons. I think he's run a few marathons, a few half marathons. He's run a lot. And then if we shift over to powerlifting, we have athletes like Justin Zottel, who was a mountain biker for quite some time. And I've gotten a chance to talk to him a little bit. And you don't hear a man utter the phrase very often, yeah, I really like to get my stuff together so I can actually pull 900 pounds. And it's like, get your stuff together so you can. That's a scary thought. And then I got to talking to him and I realized, yes, he did have the propensity before his retirement to accomplish just that. But that being said, what do these humans all have in common? They were endurance athletes. And by mountain biking, I don't mean mountain sprinting. I mean like mountain biking, okay? And when I mean running, I don't mean sprinters on a track. It's a very different thing. Because essentially what I'm theorizing is that when you have these individuals who partake in these sports that don't not only condition the lower body, but condition the lower body to an extreme, if they're any good at those sports, that's box one. Because if they're any good at those sports and do it for a long period of time, they are heavily conditioned between the knee and the ankle, as well as above the knee usually, primarily from the knee to the ankle. And their feet operate very, very well. They might be beaten up and have some minor imperfections, but their foot strike and the way their toes interact with the ground and how that communicates up the chain to the ab and adductor, different parts of the calf, to the hamstring, the quad, and the glute, they've got that shit on lock. And they're actually usually really good at medleys. Oftentimes we say, oh, that guy's really good at medleys because he's got a lifetime of cardio. I don't think that's the case at all. I think them having the cardio has given them an advantage between the knee and the ankle to deal with their body's own maximum force output. Now, why does this differ if we were to look at like a sprinter? I don't think sprinters get the same benefit. The reason I don't think they get the same benefit is because when you have these endurance runners, they are essentially doing it becomes very intense, but their goal is probably to keep the intensity as low as humanly possible within a time range to accomplish a goal as efficiently as possible. If somebody's engaging in a moving sport or an endurance sport that's more like sprint-based, like sprinting, I guess, then it's going to be a very different thing, because then it's going to be a series of maximum force output slapping the ground, because it ultimately running faster is about hitting the ground harder and picking your foot up faster, right? So you're not really gaining the mileage in the minimal stress zone that we're looking for that develops actual coordination. When you start maximally trying to exert force or express force, that's when we start seeing compensations occur. You ride the inside of the foot, ride the outside of the foot. Your foot, points in slightly, points out slightly. Well, if you're running the mileage that these guys are getting or riding the mileage that these are getting, your knees and hips won't make it long enough to get you into strength sports. But if they do, there's one more box you have to check. Do I have the potential to be strong? Now, not stronger than you are now, but actually strong. And that's something that not very many people have, especially people who spend the majority of their life as endurance athletes, because those individuals who have the propensity to be extremely strong usually discover that early in life and begin to expand on that. Some might argue too early in life, leading to a lifelong situation of sports-related issues that your endurance runners, having their own, I'm sure, are simply going to avoid. I know for a fact Nick Guardione made one adjustment to his deadlift for his Arnold prep, and the dude comes 3 or 4 weeks out of his Arnold prep, shows up at the Arnold and pulls a 40 or 50 pound lifetime PR. Mitchell Hooper is just deadlift. I mean, he is, arguably he's not not deadlift at the moment, but he was there for a little while. My point being is he's a very good deadlifter, and they're both relatively good at, well, very good at medleys if we're looking at it. Justin Zeidel, I haven't really got to see him do a medley because he's a powerlifter, but the dude could squat 1,000 pounds, pull almost 9, and he's been doing it for quite some time. So, or quite some time. Yes, quite some time's a fair statement for the length of his career. So if we look at what all these three humans have in common, Justin doesn't have the cardio anymore that the other two I just mentioned did. However, they come from very similar endurance-based backgrounds and have success, or at least indicated propensity to be good at very similar things, to include squatting. I don't know how good at squatting Nick Guardione is, but I know Mitchell Hooper's damn good at it, and I know Justin Zeidel at his peak, damn good at it. And we have strongman versus powerlifting, but we have endurance sports. Right. So it's just a very interesting outlook. Hopefully it makes a little bit of sense. I'd really like to see maybe some more crossover of endurance athletes becoming elite level strength athletes, not just like dot score, whatever the weight score is now, if somebody's 130 pounds and benches 330. No, I'm talking about like, I want to see some of those guys that are running marathons that are maybe a little bit taller, coming in, filling out some, and maybe exploring their genetic propensity on the back end of what strength and adding strength to that frame could do. I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. I think it gives people the chance to live longer and exert more stress on them to get stronger before it kills them, which means a bigger deadlift. So rant over. Now, boom, let me jump over. Sorry guys, notes. This is a little rough. All right, I already mentioned my boys. Oh, weight loss, consistent. Okay, yeah, this is a fun one. So I don't care if you're trying to lose weight or get bigger. Most people suck at grocery shopping, and it's because of how their fridge looks. So if you're trying to lose weight or get stronger, the concept is the same. You're probably trying to clean your diet up, eat less shit, eat more good stuff. But why does everybody suck at that so bad? Well, it's because everybody will run out of what, or most people at least on this journey, will run out of the foods they need to have, such as their rice, their chicken, whatever their protein and their carbs are. And then it's like, oh, I have to go to the grocery store now. Well, yeah, okay, but then they open their fridge and it looks like the middle aisles of the grocery store. Their fridge still is stocked with food. Food they're not eating unless they don't have anything else. Pantries are exactly the same way. Me personally, when I have to go get food, it's because like I'm out of chicken, eggs, and tofu. Like I've got no protein in the house, like or no protein thawed. Those are the situations I push myself to run into, because what it does is it prevents me from keeping reasons to not stay on diet or eating. Now, you're not going to be perfect, but again, if it's time to go to the grocery store and you open your fridge and your fridge is stocked with food, or there's a bunch of jars and colorful stuff from the inside of the grocery store, throw all that shit away every time you go grocery shopping. Just throw it away, and then don't buy it again when you go to the grocery store. It's amazing what your weight loss goals will do, what your strength goals will do. If it's anything fitness related, just fix the inside of your fridge and make sure that looks like the inside of your cart. Because you don't get any points if the bad shit's already at home and you're still falling through the cracks. And it's your reason to fall through the cracks of your diet. Now, in rant, done with that one. The next one I'm going to leave everybody with, this is going to make some people mad. I do not think suits of any kind should be allowed in amateur powerlifting or strongman. And for those that don't know, I did compete in powerlifting when I was younger. I have done a few meets. I'm on open powerlifting at a very young age with nothing very impressive. So I've been there and done a few things at the bottom barrel level of powerlifting, and I've got friends at the top barrel. So I've got witnessed experience at the top, and I've got a little bit of earned experience at the bottom. That being said, I remember coming in and seeing these 130-pound sophomores in high school putting on squat suits and shaking like a leaf. And then I remember getting into strongman, and as an amateur strongman, I did wear a suit one time in contest. It was for a max 18-inch pull, and I pulled 1,025. Don't know if I needed it, but I put it on, and then I didn't wear that again until I was a pro. So what I think is happening now, and it's not think, it is happening. People are putting suits on faster and faster to lift more weight, and they're calling it a different sport or saying, well, if it's in the rules, well, yeah, it doesn't say in the rules you shouldn't suck or be weak or develop a base, but you probably should before you start putting on all that equipment that requires a completely different skill set. Not only a completely different skill set, frankly, it requires more of you to stay healthy while wearing. So if we're actually going to be doing this, then I think we need to remove the option for there to be any kind of, in powerlifting, we might want to make it like, hey, you need a raw total of X to enter X and wear equipment in contest. not outside, not an unsanctioned means. I'm just talking about promoting maybe a healthier entrance into equipment at sanctioned powerlifting meets, if that could be an option for the younger class of lifter, seeing as the younger class of lifter, the stronger they are when they put the suits on, the more likely they're going to want to stay in the suits because they're going to have more support from people, because we don't have the majority of raw lifters outlifting equipped lifters at that point. We're creating stronger equipped lifters and expanding the top end of the sport while developing the athletes on their way to that point, not just throwing suits at them or making them feel like they have to. And I guess nobody's forcing them to do it, but somewhere along the line, the sport lost and it became about sliding on equipment for the most part. And I would like to see that not be the case anymore. But in rant, that's because I like strength. Strongman. Most people in America who enter strongman as an adult. That's starting to change. However, what we commonly see are adults who have not played sports for quite some time, or we see adults who have never played sports before entering strongman. And strongman's a very welcoming environment on more than a few different levels. And if it's not welcoming where you are, go 25 miles northwest, east, south, whatever you want to go. You're probably going to find a better environment for the most part that involves strongman. Now, that being said, better environment means friendly, doesn't always mean best environment for the sport. And I do know that a lot of people, it's pay to play and they have no aspirations of moving the sport because it's just fun for them to do. Good, that's fine. That's totally okay. However, I do think we need to add a little bit of respect back to amateur strongman stateside. And I think we need to say, like, hey, your deadlift sucks and you're just going to get yourself hurt putting that suit on. Because the thing is, the suit's supposed to help you lift more weight. That's undeniable. It does protect you in the process of, and it doesn't give you as much as you think. They're actually a hassle. However, if you deadlift 400 pounds, you're not going to put a suit on and deadlift 800 pounds. But if you deadlift 800 pounds, you get a suit on and deadlift 1,000 pounds. Right? That's how that works. Those jumps, as they become smaller and smaller. But if you say you deadlift 5 or 6, you might pull 7 or 8 in a suit. Like, again, because your suit work's actually going to help your raw work some, so your raw number isn't going to stay that base entry. But I really do think there needs to be a base entry, and amateur strongman contests just need to outlaw deadlift suits until maybe American strongman makes a little bit more of a resurgence at the bottom level, and then we see some of that bleeding over into the next wave of top-end guys. Not the current guys, but the next wave of top-end guys.